planning for a joint practice against a team you're going to play this year?
Yeah, there's always that thought in the back of your mind, and even when we're going to Dallas practice, you trust that the film's not going to get out, and I know they got a quality staff just like ours, and just like we talked to Dallas, where the film's not going to get out, but there's always the word of mouth stuff, talking about what they ran and stuff, and yeah, there is that extra thing where we typically don't do this against teams we play against, so how much do you want to show, but you still want to run your stuff and test your roles. It's always that fine balance, similar to some of the preseason games. So yeah, it is a challenge, and definitely this time of year, it's one of those August preseason problems.
When you're last minute change going from joint practice against one team to another, are there changes you make because of who you're facing, or are you still planning to do the stuff that you were planning?
We're doing our stuff, and it's rules ball right now. We're not necessarily game planning, whether it's a preseason game or an opponent. It has been interesting because you're watching the tape, and they played each other. The Saints played the Chargers, so we're watching obviously the Saints offense versus the Chargers defense, and then it's obviously going to flip right after that. So typically you're playing the team, you're practicing against the team that you're playing against. So this is the first time that it's been kind of flipped like this. So it's a challenge, but at the same time, we're not putting a ton of stock into. We don't know exactly with their injuries, who they're going to play. So many guys are switching in, so it's hard to game plan, this time of year. So, test our rules, and we're just excited to go against a really good opponent, really good O-line, really good skill, and we know that's going to be well coached.
Chris, Saturday night, you guys had really two great stops, 3 and out. But because you're not game planning, what did jump out at you about Saturday night?
The energy they played with. It felt like what we want to look like, what we want the Rams defense to look like, and obviously we had a lot of guys sitting out of the game, but, no matter what, when you go on the field, with our defense, there's a standard that they got to hold on to. So, it just seemed like they were connected, they were running to the ball, they were getting off blocks, they were communicating, and for the most part executing the right way that we want to do. And so, yeah, we're not game planning, but, every game when we step on the field wearing a Rams jersey playing defense, we want to look like that.
The guys said that different days are focusing on different things and trying to get better in specific areas. In a joint practice like this, is that something that continue, or is it kind of just take your opportunities and do?
No, 100%. Because in these practice settings, it gets you go against another guy where, we practice against our offense so much. They know our calls. At the line, we know their calls, and the Saints, it's a completely different deal. So it's an opportunity to go against another guy and try some things where you're not necessarily at a game and stuff like that. But at the same time, you still want to perform well, so there is that kind of heightened level of urgency.
Paul wore the green dot after missing the first couple weeks of camp. What did you think about how he did there on Saturday?
He was really good. He was really good. Communicated good. I thought he played really hard. Really thought that whole group, was fun. It was fun because G Money was calling the game, so I was kind of the linebackers coach again. So being able to talk to those guys at the sideline, really good demeanor, really good game day demeanors. Paul's always been a guy, just talking to a lot of his college coaches and stuff, at Ole Miss and stuff. When the lights come on, he shines the brightest. Where he tackles, he runs, he's physical, and when you can play full tackle football with the pads on, that's when he's going to shine the brightest. So I thought he did a really nice job with the green dot, especially for missing those first couple weeks.
Chris, there's a couple of media outlets that are reporting right now that the Rams are the #1 defense from what they've seen. Just your thoughts on that?
The Rams are what?
#1 defense in the NFL right now.
But none of it matters. It's all fluff. Haven't really looked into it too much. We just know that there's going to be some expectations this year with with how we finished last year and stuff. And it doesn't really change anything. It doesn't change anybody's mentality. It doesn't change how we go to work every day. And, you got to handle success and failure, the right way. And we all know that this league is one day, 1 week away from being humbled. And our guys are well aware of that, and that last year was definitely representative of that. So we all have that in the back of our minds, and we just want to continue to get better day by day going forward.
What are your thoughts on Josiah Stewart's development so far?
He's been great. Joe Caniglio and Giff and Drew Wilkins have done an awesome job with him. And, he started off in OTAs. He had a little bit of a hamstring. So he really missed. They were here 2 weeks before we started our first true OTA practice. That day was actually his first day of doing any individual or anything. So, just to see him progress, whatever it was only 3 weeks, and I think we went to Hawaii. So he only had that little bit of time, and now he comes back healthy for training camp. And as soon as the pads came on, kind of like Paul, he's a guy that really showed up, and thought he did an excellent job in the game. game day demeanor, but he's physical, he's tough, and we've loved the way he's progressed. And he's shown that he can learn, and some of those guys in that room have really taken him under their wings.
It seems like in the cornerback room you have a lot of guys competing for what might just be one or two final roster spots there. Like, what's your read on that level of competition?
Yeah, it's a big competition. We got a lot of deep group that can play. You really feel good about whatever combination that Aubrey and Pete put out there. So yeah, it's a big competition. It's going to be a last big couple weeks of training camp for some of those guys. But it's been fun, and what's cool about that room is, they're pushing each other, but they're all rooting for each other too. So it's not one of those things where there's any animosity versus who's in. Coach Aubrey does a great job of rotating guys through and keeping guys fresh and giving guys a lot of reps. So it's been fun to see, and I feel like the competition has really brought the best out of those guys so far. So excited to keep watching.
How would
Kind of his bread and butter. Have you seen him diversify his pass rush ahead of year 2?
He definitely, we're, especially in OTA's training camp before we got pads on, we're not really bull rushing too much, so it allows him to kind of work some hands, work some edges, work a different array of moves, so, trying to do it. And then the same thing, like you said, we know that's his bread and butter, and, but it's also not something we want to be doing every snap versus our guys, and, sometimes you bull rush, that kind of pushes the pocket right on the, on Jimmy G's feet or Stetson's feet. That could be a tough thing. So he's definitely using that as an option to try to progress something, just like you talked about earlier with trying new things, and that's what we've tried to hit on with him. Trying some different stuff to, continue to get his arsenal better.
How would you describe Joe Caniglio as a coach and the relationships he's built with your guys in this room?
Yeah, he's a great coach, and he connects with his guys. He really does. He's hard on them, and he's really tough on them, just like Giff Smith. But he can be hard on them because he has such a good connection with those guys. And it's fun to see the relationship that him and BY have. And it kind of came in the league. Joe's first year in the league, we drafted BY as a rookie, and see those two kind of grow together. And then the relationship he's built with Verse and B-Jack and a lot of those guys in the room. He builds a really good relationship with those guys. He builds a trust. He shows that he has a confidence and he can help those guys become the best players that they can be. And in order to do that, he's hard on them sometimes, but the guys like him because he knows he's out for the best for them.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chris.